Honestly, it is a great pleasure to see you all here. I don't often enough see NGOs and civil society activists. We too often talk to politicians and talking heads on the media circuits, but I always wanted to engage more actively with people like yourselves, because I really believe, and I will explain why, I really believe your work is critical. It is critical, it goes unnoticed, it goes beyond, it's not in the headlines of the media, but it is the salt, if you want, of peace. What my own life story is, until I made the critical mistake perhaps of getting into my national politics in Bulgaria, was part of civil society. Since 1990, my own country has gone through a massive transformation, as all countries in Central and Eastern Europe and in the Balkans. And what we've come to realize, slowly but surely, is that transformation would have been impossible without civil society, without the critical input of groups that go out of their way to not just to deliver services to people, but to open up minds and to help people understand the challenges that others are facing and bring everyone together. It happened in my own country, it happened in our neighborhood in Southeastern Europe, and honestly, if you think you've got it bad here, come to the Balkans. Until recently, it was considered to be where all of Europe's problems started for 100 years. And one of the reasons why it is no longer that is because we've developed a very active relationship with civil society and active engagement on all fronts with NGOs. And I really hope that in this environment, here in Israel, Palestine, between Israelis and Palestinians, between Jews, Christians and Arabs, the United Nations, can help foster that type of dialogue and that type of engagement much more than we do. Because currently, if you look at the political process, you will, I'm sure, all agree with me that the negotiating rooms for all the politicians and the generals and the diplomats are all empty. There are no negotiations. There is no political horizon. And everything is driven by internal domestic politics and internal domestic constraints on all sides. People are much more comfortable talking to their own rather than talking to others. And this is perhaps what is the biggest obstacle currently to peace. We're facing a very precarious situation on a daily basis. I want to start by saying a few words about one area which is the highest in our concern right now, and that is the situation in Gaza, which is about to explode, and I say that with the full awareness of the heavy words that I'm using. We're literally days away, possibly, from another conflict in Gaza. And this time it will be a conflict that will either be driven by people who live in desperate conditions and losing social control of Gaza. And when I say desperate conditions mean really that. 3 hours of electricity per day, no sewage system functioning for months, no potable water, over 40% unemployment, with over 60% of youth unemployment, and no perspective. No perspective. I'll never forget a few months ago when we visited a school in Gaza, and we met with a club of students who practice democracy, and they engage in among themselves in elections, and one part plays the government, the other the opposition. And these kids were inspiring. But what was most disturbing to me personally and to all of us was that most likely for the rest of their lives, this is the only experience of democracy and engagement that these kids will ever see. Practicing it in school. Because there's nothing in the world out there that gives them any hope of where they can take that experience and turn it into a reality. What we see currently is a lot of factors coming together that are making the situation extremely dangerous. And if it explodes, it will explode in the face of Israel, it will explode in the face of the Palestinians, and likely it will bring in the whole region into a conflict. So therefore, a lot of our work right now on the ground is focused not just on humanitarian activities, but also on trying to prevent this from happening. On the bigger picture, what we've tried in my office over the last few years to argue is that it is not just for politicians to make decisions about war and peace. It is about people, because it's people's lives that are at stake. And that is why a couple of years ago, when we came together with our American, European and Russian friends to produce a report on the situation on the ground, I encourage you to take a look at it. It's a very short report, it's about 7 pages. It's called the Quartet Report, it's somewhere on our UN website. We looked at what are the obstacles to peace, and we identified all what we believe are the key obstacles to getting both sides, Israelis and Palestinians, together. And we listed a number of recommendations, and one of these key recommendations was to support the work of civil society groups on both sides. Civil society groups that bring people together, because there is not enough of that. There is not enough of that happening today, and it is critically important. I hope that there will be a realization that peace is impossible without people talking to each other, without engaging with each other, without understanding each other's constraints and perspectives. But ultimately, it's also impossible without leadership. And that is the stuff that we miss most right now, leadership. Leadership on all sides that is willing to step out of their comfort zones, to engage with the others, to address the hard choices that need to be made by everyone in order to promote and advance the prospects for peace. But not advance them in a fake way, because there have been too many attempts, I think, in the past in which, for the sake of a political headline, people have done things that have ended up having negative consequences for everyone. I've hardly met an Israeli who doesn't believe that another round of talks will lead to another round of violence. And I've hardly met a Palestinian who doesn't believe that another round of talks will lead to another round of losses for the Palestinians. And this is perhaps the biggest obstacle that leadership on both sides needs to address. Our work here as the United Nations is very complicated, because it spans a big horizon of things that we do, from the humanitarian front to the security to the political front. But one of our most important aspects is our reporting to the Security Council. Every month we go to the Security Council to annoy everybody, and we submit a report and we talk about what's happening on the ground. And nobody likes that, I assure you, here, and many outside don't like it as well, because they say, why do you keep talking about this issue? There are other problems in the region, where you talk more about Syria or Yemen or elsewhere. But we have to talk about Israelis and Palestinians, about their lives and their challenges here, and the problems that they face. Because if we stop talking about what is happening here, if we lose sight of this conflict and the importance of building peace here, we will never be able to achieve anything else in the region as well. And I hope that over the next months, and I encourage you to please stay in touch with our office more consistently about what you do and the stuff that you achieve on the ground, and your initiatives and your projects, because I would like to be able to tell the Security Council and the world about your work, not just in general terms. I'd like to be able to point out to what you do when you bring kids together, when you have judo competitions between Israelis and Palestinians and others from the region, when you reach out to women's groups and others to find those links that are missing in order to create an environment that makes peace possible and negotiations feasible. So thank you again for everything that you do, and I look forward to staying in touch with you and to giving you all the support that we can. And congratulations for all your achievements, and good luck also in fundraising, because I know how important that is. I'm not offering anything right now because we're also looking for funds, millions and close to billions, I think, at this point, for UNRWA, for reconstruction, for humanitarian aid. But I know that if we collectively keep pushing, we will be able to achieve much more. Thank you very much.